What's up, y'all? It's your girl Jay. Welcome to my channel, Still Becoming. So today, y'all, we talking about the word consent. Okay, what it means, what it is, how to ask for it, the rejection of it. But this conversation is different because this is me having a conversation with my son about the word consent. So I'm gonna be breaking everything down for us parents, so that you can tell your kids what consent is and everything that falls underneath that. Okay, so if you're new here, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you can get these notifications and check out more of my content. Okay, so without further ado, let's get right into it. So a few months ago, I'm in the kitchen cooking dinner, right? And my son comes in there, he's like, "Hey, yo, ma, so next week we about to start talking about sex at school." And I'm like, "Okay, that's good, baby," you know what I'm saying? And he's like, "But I already know everything about sex." And I look at him and roll my eyes. I'm like, "Boy, you 14 years old, you an expert, like you know everything about sex all of a sudden?" He's like, "I know a lot. I know you need to use protection." And I'm like, yes, you do. That is one of the most important things about sex, is that you definitely do need to use protection. But what do you know about the word consent? So he looks at me and he's like, and I'm like, "Yep, exactly. This is our next conversation. We need to get into it." So as I stood in the kitchen finishing up dinner, I started thinking about my own experiences with young boys and men, okay? Because I remember in junior high school when boys would just run up, grab your butt, and then run off, and you would yell at them to stop. I remember once in high school, this dude repeatedly tried to stick his tongue down my throat as I pushed him off over and over again, okay? And then, of course, there were many occasions when I would be walking home or walking to the store or wherever, and dudes would literally be following me in their car, like following me, trying to get my number, get my attention. And it was like, damn, no matter how many times you said no or stop, they would persist. From a young age, girls are taught to say no. We're taught to protect ourselves. We are taught to tell someone if somebody does anything to us, but it does not seem like that same effort is being taught to our boys, to respect those no's, to ask for consent, and to not cross those boundaries. And then they carry this behavior over into adulthood. So because my son is getting older, entering high school, liking girls and things of that nature, I felt like it was important to revisit this conversation. Of course, we've talked about setting boundaries for himself and respecting other people's boundaries, but we haven't really took a deep dive into the word consent, because there's a lot that goes into consent, And so I just wanted to make sure I revisited the conversation and, we take it all the way there, okay? We cover all of the basics as much as possible. The foundation: communication, respect, and setting boundaries are the foundation of consent, okay? Teaching our kids about consent is about helping them to learn to set boundaries for themselves, but also respecting others. Communication is vital for both parties, so nothing is ever assumed and no one ever feels pressure, because too often the person applying the pressure is only focused about their wants and desires, okay? And so that person needs to understand what consent is in all situations. So what is consent, you ask? Okay, consent is an agreement that is willfully given without any external pressures or factors. Consent is required for everyone, regardless of gender, promiscuity, provocative clothing, or flirtatious behavior. Consent is also needed if you're in a relationship or if you're married. Being in a relationship does not obligate a person to have sex with you, okay? Consent means both parties say yes and are comfortable with what is happening. Taking a moment to ask your partner, do they want things to move forward? But also understanding that your partner can change their mind at any point in time during the interaction, okay? And you must respect their decision. Even if you are in the middle of having sex, okay, you still have to respect their decision. If a person says no, stop, or don't, you immediately stop and you acknowledge how they feel. But you also got to be sensitive to the fact that a person don't need to say no or stop the action from taking place to signify that they are not comfortable with what is going on, okay? Because people can find it difficult to say no in high pressure situations. There is no room for gray areas, okay? So in order to avoid confusion, it is important that you ask in every situation, every single time. It's always good to just check in and make sure everything is everything. So now that we broke down, the foundation, the basics of what consent is, it's like, how do I get this consent, okay? How do I go about asking for this consent? Now, you might find asking for consent awkward, a mood killer, don't think you need to do it, or just unsure how to ask, okay? So I got some tips for you. I found this article on Healthline, and they have some really good pointers. You could say things like, can I kiss you? Can I touch you? Do you want to have sex, or would you like to wait? These are great things that you could say. And if you already in the heat of the moment, I got you too. You can say, are you comfortable with me doing this? Do you want me to stop? How far are you comfortable with going? And here are some responses to ensure that you have consent, okay? You might hear things like, yes, I want to. Don't stop. I'm sure. I want you. So now we have an idea of how to ask, right? Okay, what to say, how to say it, when to say it, But let's take a little bit of a deep dive into what consent is not, because the most important thing that we are trying to do here today is what? okay? Alleviate confusion, set boundaries, and just boost everybody's confidence so they know how to maneuver in these situations, So here's a quick list of what consent is not. Number 1, assuming a person consented to something based on their actions is implied consent and should not be replaced with verbal, okay? Number 2, repeatedly asking someone to engage in sexual activity until they say yes is coercion and is not consent. Number 3, understanding that not all affection, no matter how well intended, is always going to be welcomed. Number 4, and I can't believe I have to say this, but just in case people don't know, intimidating and threatening someone is not consent, okay? Not at all. And this could be a little bit of a gray area because you might have thought that this was okay, right? So assuming that there are different rules for people who've hooked up before. No, just because we hooked up before does not mean that you have a right to my body again. You know what I'm saying? You still need to be respectful. You still need to check in and be like, hey, are you comfortable with this? And this one is really important. And I encourage everyone to avoid situations like this at all costs. If a person is intoxicated, if a person is passed out, you do not have consent. I don't care what they said under the influence. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe they didn't even say anything at all. Listen, do not do it. Do not engage at all. Okay? Because that person is not in a right frame of mind to make a sound decision, to decide if they want to do something with you or not. So just avoid it, period. And I mentioned this earlier, there are going to be times that you might have to pick up on nonverbal cues. So you have to understand that just because a person did not verbally say no, that does not mean that they're okay with what is going on. And I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but just in case this happens to you, here are some things to look out for. It could be things like pulling away, pushing you away, looking scared, crying, shaking their head no. Those are some nonverbal cues that you might, actually not even say might, that you need to understand. And at that point in time, you should stop what you're doing and you should ask that person, hey, is everything okay? Do I need to stop? Am I making you uncomfortable? Last thing I want to discuss is rejection, okay? Ooh, this is a big one, okay? Listen, I can only speak for myself, but ladies, how many times have you been in a situation where you said no and the dude spazzed on you, said something left, disrespected you, you know what I'm saying? Hey, what's up, Miss Lady? Damn, girl, you beautiful. Can I get your number? You can't have friends. Hey, yeah, you. Come here, shawty. Let me holler at you for a minute. All right, well, fuck you then. Ain't nobody want your number, no way. Okay, these hoes think they too good. That's their problem. Think they too good. Forget her. How you doing, queen? Good. Yeah, I seen you from across the room, and I just had to come over here and tell you how beautiful you look today. You think maybe I can get your number? Oh, you a lesbian? Well, I ain't got no problem with you being a lesbian, Brittany. You know what I'm saying? We could be like a little triangle family. You feel me? I can handle both y'all. Yeah, so, Oh, it's like that? It's like that. Let me say this again because I just feel like it's so important, okay? Handling rejection needs to be discussed with the same importance as asking for consent. Because people's egos or pride or whatever is real fragile out here. Because teaching our kids how to react and handle their emotions is vital. You know what I'm saying? That way when they grow up to be adults, they ain't out here talking crazy and acting reckless. And we all know rejection is a part of life in everything that you do. So in this case, they must learn how to accept rejection, okay? And not take it personally. Don't resort into disrespect, okay? Definitely don't commit assault on anybody. Explain to them that someone may not want the same things that they want in the same way that they want it. And in some instances, rejection does not necessarily mean that they don't like you. Now, let me be clear because I don't want people to get the wrong idea. This is after somebody has already established their feelings for you. Hey, I do like you, but they might not be ready to take things to the next level, okay? A person does not need to have sex with you to show that they like you. But no matter what the case is, if somebody says no, you respectfully oblige to their wishes, okay? Here are some ways that you can say no if you are in a situation. Eye contact with a firm no. You know what, James? I'm okay with kissing, but I'm just not ready to have sex yet. Okay, I've already said no, so I'm leaving the situation. And lastly, explain to your kids that if anybody makes them feel uncomfortable after they have already said no, stop, or don't, try their best to just remove themselves from that situation, yell for help, call for help, and make sure they report that person. It is important that we let our kids know that they have rights and they should not be violated, okay? And then if someone does assault them in any way, that it is not their fault, that they did the best that they could in the situation that they were in, We have some sick people out here, and I know we all just definitely want to protect our kids. I know if anybody touches my child, like I'm I'm gonna lose my damn mind. Do you understand? Like, I'm gonna lose it. It's gonna get real crazy, real sadistic up in here of what I'm gonna want to do to that person, you know? Tell our kids, hey, it does not matter if it's a stranger, if you know this person, a family member, a parent, whoever. Like, if somebody does something to you, tell me, okay? And also provide that space. Like, you having these conversations with them about sex on a regular basis provides a open door policy that they can come to you and that they know that you are a safe space for them, you know what I'm saying? So that's why it's really important. And I don't care if it's the mom or the dad, like, both parents need to have the conversation, you know, individually together, because empowering our kids with information about sex and consent is going to help them be able to navigate this world easier, you know what I'm saying? Like, knowledge is power. If they have the tools, they know how to use them. And I know, like, a lot of parents might be shy or not know how to have this conversation, but listen, sex is a huge part of life, okay? And these conversations are just way too important to be swept under the rug, or just to assume that your child already know, or to even keep the conversations very basic. And you just need to be able to go into a deep conversation, let them, if they have questions, let them ask them, and don't respond all crazy, you know, give them the answers that they need in a calm way, okay? Facial expressions to a minimum, people, to a minimum. That is super important. You just want to make sure your kids keep coming back and getting the information that they need from you. You want to be the source, okay? Knowledgeable people. You want knowledgeable people. You just don't want anybody talking to your kids, okay? I had this kid, listen, let me tell y'all. There was this kid in junior high school, okay, that would be talking to my son about sex literally like every day at lunch. Like, I don't know who was telling him what, because the information that he was providing, it seemed like an adult was talking to him about it, okay? But my son would come home to me asking me about bestiality, about all kind of stuff, and I would just be like, oh my God, like, and you might think that it is too young for these kids, but they know it. So you got to get to them either around the time that they being exposed to it, but which is really too late. You really want to try to get to them ahead of time. But listen, don't think that your kids ain't learning stuff, okay? They out here being exposed to a lot, you know, and especially if you have them on social media. Let's not leave them to figure things out for themselves, okay? Let's not do that at all. So that's it for today, y'all. Let me know what y'all think. Leave your comments, questions, and concerns down below, okay? Have you talked to your kids about consent? You know what I'm saying? Did you do a deep dive? Did you go all the way in? Did you have a really good conversations with your sons, okay? Just as much as you did with your daughters, you know what I'm saying? So just let me know what y'all thoughts are. Did I miss anything? Let me know, okay? And before we get out of here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and press it, okay? Go ahead and thumbs up this video, and I will catch y'all next time. Hey, and also I'm gonna go ahead and link this other video up here about the top 13 things that you should tell your kids about pornography and masturbation. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead and watch that video up next.